A group within the larger group of Sikhs are called the Khalsa. Khalsa is an Arabic and Persian word that refers to being sincere and being pure. In a religious sense, it means making all our wishes, desires, love, and passion for the one God alone. The roots of the Sikh Khalsa lie in the late 1600s India, where Sikhs were being attacked, killed, and persecuted for their different religious beliefs than that of the rulers. The ninth Guru had been himself killed or martyred. Guru Gobind Singh, the 10th Guru, asked for Sikhs to rise to defend their fellow Sikhs who would sacrifice totally for the good of the community. 5 men volunteered to do this. The 5 were brought into a tent by the Guru one by one. Each time the Guru would emerge alone, just with a sword with blood on it. Yet each one didn't falter, but bravely entered the tent when his turn was next. Then, later, all 5 emerged alive, and it is said that either the sword just had goat's blood, or that the Guru had indeed killed them, and then resurrected them. The 5 then participated in a baptism ritual, in which they drank sweetened water from a cauldron which had been poured over the Guru's toe, symbolizing their absolute devotion and servitude to his will. Those 5 then baptized the Guru, denoting the central value of equality of each and all in Sikhism. Hundreds and thousands more Sikhs would follow in this baptism ceremony, each one receiving a new name. Singh for males and Kaur for females. Singh meaning lion and Kaur meaning princess. Today, all in the Khalsa are Sikhs, but not everyone who is a Sikh is part of the Khalsa. The Khalsa is for those who want to especially devote their lives to great commitment to the practices and teachings of the religion. Those who decide to do this now have a baptism that includes drinking from a cauldron in which a sweetener has been added to water while chanting the Adi Granth, drinking 5 handfuls of the water, then having 5 drops sprinkled on the head, then 5 more drops sprinkled on the eyes. This is to note that one's words, mind, and sight should each be sweetened by compassion and the constant remembrance of God. Khalsa spiritual warriors. Those who are part of the Khalsa also take on what are called the 5 Ks. So named because each facet starts with a K in the original Punjabi language. There is kesh or uncut hair. Sikh men and women who are part of the Khalsa do not cut their hair or cut their beard, but letting your hair grow out is a sign of one's faith or faith identity. There's Kanga, a wooden comb, and this is to remind the Sikh to always be clean and orderly in their appearance, have a beautiful physical appearance even as they try to have a beautiful spiritual appearance before God. There's Kara, a metal bracelet, just as there's no beginning nor end in a circle or bracelet. This reminds the Sikh to have everything, every aspect, every part of their lives, part of a whole in which it's brought together in service and worship of the one God. There is Kachera, which is a specific style of cotton undergarments. A Sikh will always wear this undergarment and be able to, one, even if they're bathing, they're wearing this and they'll be able to be ready to defend the community from the religious community from an invader. Second, it reminds them to always be spiritually ready, always be ready to serve God in every single way they can. And fifth, the last of the Ks, is a kirpan. This is a strapped, curved sword. It's a small sword that one is supposed to hold on them at all times. This is to remind them to not only be ready to defend the faith physically as a last resort if need be, but also it reminds them that they must cut away the veils of God, of the ego, through the sword of love and devotion to God. Because they are continually attacked, the Sikhs early on developed an ethic of what they believe to be righteous war. That righteous war is one in which it should only be done as a last resort when all other means of negotiating has been exhausted. They should only do it when they themselves are under siege and being attacked. They should not initiate any sort of aggressions or violence towards the other. One never tries to get territory or other gains through the battles, but it's for defending the community alone. And one takes on no hatred or personal dislike against those one is fighting. So what does a Sikh lifestyle look like? First of all, a Sikh is one who works on a daily basis. A Sikh is not an ascetic who wanders around and depends on others for their support. Rather, a Sikh should contribute to society, be a benefit to society through their daily work. And they are also householders, so similar to householders in Hinduism instead of sannyasins who give up family life, or Buddhist monks or nuns are not these householders, but rather householder Buddhists. The Sikh will marry and have a family and try to raise the family in the faith. The Sikh will also try to give charity, and this is often 10% of their wealth, of their profits from work that they'll try to give to the benefit of the community, directly to the Sikh community, as well as to anyone of any religion who needs help and assistance. They also might give not so much money, but their time and their efforts in service of the Sikh community and others. A Sikh is someone who tries to remember God and have every aspect of their life be one that's done out of love and in love for God, and try to draw closer and closer, learn more about God, develop that relationship with God every moment of their lives. A Sikh is also one who avoids alcohol and tobacco, and Sikhs are known in South Asia and much of Southwest Asia as well as being people who are very strong, very healthy people, very capable fighters and athletes, and this is partially due to them avoiding alcohol and tobacco. Vegetarianism is recommended within Sikhism, but it's not mandatory. Some Sikhs are vegetarian, many are not. However, if you do eat animals, it should be an animal that's not killed halal, the Islamic way of cutting the neck and drain the blood, or the kosher way, which is done in a similar way as the halal way. And Sikhs believe that this way of cutting the neck and blood draining causes an animal a lot of harm and undue suffering, prolonging the death. They prefer methods that make the animal unconscious and not able to feel things very quickly through a blunt instrument, or severing the head off the neck completely very quickly. Furthermore, a Sikh will is someone who tries to read the hymns of the Adi Granth on a daily basis. Those that are really devoted will spend a few hours every day doing this. Those who aren't that devoted will still try to say prayers and recite hymns from the Adi Granth in their daily devotions. There'll also be people who will visit the Gurdwara and listen to the chanting of the Adi Granth by these singers. They're people who will also try to volunteer and help cook or serve food in the langar or kitchen. So one of the central values of Sikhism is equality, that everyone, man, woman, child, adult, or elderly, are equal and equally important and have an equal status in the sight of God. No one should be above the other. Sikhism rejected the caste system very on. In fact, some of the early members of the Khalsa were were people from very low social castes, and some of the early companions of Guru Nanak at the very beginning were from such humble origins, and this does not matter theoretically in Sikhism because of this high value of equality. Nonetheless, Sikhs in India will frequently marry someone who has a similar social class and socioeconomic place in the society, one that's similar to them, somewhat due to the cultural pressures of the environment in which they live. Though certainly some, if not many, completely reject such customs in deciding who they are going to marry. So women also are theoretically equal to their fathers, to their husbands, although in some Sikh families women will take a very much a supportive role and primarily take on domestic tasks, although this isn't seen as indicating that she has any lower status or place in the family or in the society itself. So a Sikh is someone who tries to live their life, live a life of work, live a life of worship, live a life of charity. They're one who renounces anger and that of criticizing others, and they try to vanquish what are considered the 5 evils: lust, anger, greed, attachment, and ego. And if they do this, if they do all these things, then they have a good chance of burning away their karma in this life. So this idea of karma that we talked about in studying Hinduism and Buddhism, Sikhism appropriates such views of the world into their own religion. And if you're able to burn away this karma, then one is not born again into this cycle of existence, this samsara. Rather, one becomes free of bodily existence. Their soul is liberated from bodily existence or bodily attachment, and one lives in jivan muktam. Okay, so liberation of the soul. I see the word jiva there, which was important among the Jains, and the Sikhs use this word as well. Muktan, similar to moksha. Okay, the word for liberation. Similar to the idea of nirvana, it's especially used in the Buddhist context. So we have jiva and muktam. This is the soul which is freed from the body and lives in utter bliss, in union, in immersion with the presence of God, experiencing the presence of God for the rest of eternity, in intimate joy of union with God. This is the end goal of existence for the devoted Sikh.